So we know that Allah is one. There's no separation between him and his
What's the
attributes.
clause I brought up, just so I know you listen to me?
You're saying that one is not like anything mathematically that we understand in the world because Allah is completely other. Fair. I get you. So, listen to this.
You need to bring something else.
I think
This is what you bring to Shamsi. You don't bring this to us.
You don't.
I mean, I'd rather worship the Romans who killed God than worship God.
Shall I tell you why, bro? Shall I tell you why? Because when you get to the end of your life, you won't say to yourself, I wish I had more power over other people. You will say, I wish I had more love.
Yeah, okay.
If the hadith says that Allah
Yeah, okay.
Whoever said this is completely incorrect.
Said that Allah entered in, if the word in Arabic is enter into a fingerprint, then obviously we need to discuss this. What does this mean?
So my point to you is, if that is...
I can tell you 99% that most likely this hadith is fabricated.
So my point to you is, you've got to prove that, bro. You can't just
I need the
dismiss it.
reference
You need
for
to
the
prove
hadith in Tirmidhi.
So you'll have to research it. You've got
You
to prove
have to bring it because you've used it as evidence, but you've not quoted me
The
the
Muslim
source.
scholars have used it as evidence.
No Muslim scholar. This statement here,
Muslim
this whole
scholar.
highlight. Who is he?
So what, do you
Who
think
is
this
he?
is a Christian that wrote these
Anyone can
notes?
produce Quran and
Oh,
then
right, so
provide
this
the
is a
sphere and the
Christian that wrote
apostles.
this. Bro, you're grasping at straws, mate. This is an Islamic book. It's made by a university in Saudi Arabia.
I'm honestly embarrassed.
I'm using an Islamic
You're performing
document.
for the camera right now. One second. I'm asking you to provide me the name of the person who
I
wrote the
think it is
explanation.
sufficient that the Muslim scholars have identified it as emerging from Timid.
That's not what I'm
That is
asking
sufficient
you.
for me.
I don't.
Is it sufficient for you?
It's not sufficient.
Okay.
That's why I need to find that
So
hadith.
you right, go and
I
find
will
it.
try to find it.
Go and find it. But my point to you is this, because I have other examples.
Is your colleague always like this?
Yes.
He doesn't know
Yes.
how to compensate.
He does know how to conversate and converse, whichever you want to use.
I'm struggling to have one.
So,
No, because we're not on camera here. I don't. He might have brought the camera, but we were having a discussion. I asked him a very simple question. Please quote me who wrote the explanation in this.
It was Tirmidhi, and
as
he
what
quoted
this
the
is
hadith
known as
from
that the
Muhammad.
translation and the interpretations of the Quran.
That just sounds
Now
like
each
a huge straw.
Quran that's produced in the English language always have somebody that
just sound like
provides
you're clutching at
commentary. I'd like to know who wrote the commentary.
you know what it sounds like? It sounds like I've caught you out on something, and you're just saying, well, the evidence can't be trusted. That's what it sounds like.
Not,
Well, we don't
not
necessarily
necessarily.
trust
You
them.
don't,
don't
trust.
trust this source.
He doesn't trust a Quran translated by a university in Medina.
Yeah, I don't.
That's what he's saying.
I don't.
He doesn't trust.
I don't.
Why? Why is it
Because
embarrassing?
they're literalists.
Because it embarrasses.
They're literalists. They're literalists. They're extremists.
We're not Wahhabi.
Right.
You've got the wrong. You need to bring something else.
I think
This is what you
that's
bring
great.
to Shamsi. You don't bring this to us.
You don't
bring that
like
to
you don't
Shamsi.
like that argument. I've got another one. That's fine. I've got plenty where that comes from.
You need to rely upon Quranic text,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
upon
yeah,
explanations
like this one. I'm
from
just about to give you.
literalists.
Like this
You're
one. I'm just about to
struggling
give
here,
you.
my friend.
Like this one. I'm just-
That's why I
like
tried to
this
have a
one, I'm giving you.
conversation with you, but you're running around in circles, just being silly.
So here's another example.
The same applies with the Catholic Bible. If I was
Bro,
to bring it here with an
here's
explanation, you
another
would not
example.
accept the Catholic explanation.
How do you know
You're not
it?
a Catholic.
So,
Jehovah's Witness Bible.
So, let me give you another example. Allah entering into creation. I've given you one, let me give you a second. We all know that Allah is one. He is a monad. He is a singularity, yes? There's no division within it.
Singularity not in the mathematical sense as we understand.
He's a monad, right?
Because that's a created concept.
I agree.
Number one.
I agree. This is a problem in Islamic theology. I agree. So, but Islam teaches Islam.
At any
No, I didn't insult him.
You're
I said it
using
was a problem in
ad
Islamic.
hominems.
No, where was the
You're
ad
using
hominem?
ad hominems.
I said it's a problem in Islamic theology.
Clearly it's not.
Why
because
is that
this
ad
is what
hominem?
this is where the belief comes from to understand it's not the mathematical
No,
one.
no, you're just
Clearly, I
you're
don't know
squealing,
who's
bro.
taught you Islam
No
or where
one
you're
used an
researching
ad
it,
hominem.
but you're bringing nonsense and slight ad hominems to this
Where was the
discussion.
ad hominem? Tell me what did I say that
Referring
was ad
to there's a
hominem?
problem with Islamic theology
Correct.
when you clearly know that the majority of Muslims do not believe God is one like the number one that we know as number.
Where was the ad hominem? An ad hominem is attack upon you.
Because you know upon that is
Did
not
you
my
hear an ad
belief.
hominem?
You know upon
Did
that
you
that's
hear
not
an
my
ad
belief.
hominem?
It wasn't an ad hominem. It was an attack on the theology.
Thank you. That's what I did.
No,
He's accusing me of
man.
believing
not
something
an ad
that is
hominem. I didn't. I attacked Islamic theology. If you
Okay,
don't want to
fine.
believe that, you don't want to
You're
believe
straw
that.
manning
But
me
look,
right
I'm not
now.
let's not attack each other's faith.
Okay. I'm afraid I'm not buying into that.
I'm
So,
not buying into it.
Hello, mate. You alright?
here's my second evidence. So we know that Allah is one. There's no separation between Him and His
What's the
attributes.
clause I brought up, just so I know you listen to me?
You're saying that one is not like anything mathematically that we understand in the world because Allah is completely other. Fair. I get you. So, listen to this. And has there come to you the story of Musa? When he saw a fire, he said to his family, "Wait, verily I have seen a fire, perhaps I can bring you some burning brand therefrom, or find some guidance at fire." And when he came to it, the fire, he was called by name, "O Musa, verily I am your Lord, so take off your shoes, you are in the sacred valley, and I have chosen you, so listen to that which I will reveal. Verily I am Allah, there is no God but I. So worship me and perform salat for my remembrance." So Allah's voice is there in the burning bush. Allah's attributes can't be separated from Allah, so Allah is there in the burning
Do you
bush.
think that I believe that Allah's speech is eternal?
Yes,
No, I don't.
fair enough. You're a Mutasilite, that's fine.
There you go. I am. I'm actually very close to the Mutazilite creed.
Sure.
I believe God creates His speech.
Right. So let me ask you this question: as someone who believes that Allah creates His speech,
That's the problem I'm gonna have because I'm a Mutazilite.
let me deal.
I'm not
That's fine.
Shamsi.
So let me deal with you as a Mutazilite. I will no longer make reference to Salafist arguments.
Thank you.
I'm going to do math
pleased.
now that I understand that you're a Mutasilite. So let me ask you this question: when Allah says from the burning bush, "I am your Lord," is He there?
No, He's not.
Right. So was He lying?
He created speech that went into this creation, additional creation on creation, his speech.
So His speech was created at the time. The speech is coming from the fire, but God is not physically present in the fire or around it.
So the statement is this: "I am your Lord." Was He lying?
Of course not.
So that speech is Him.
The speech is not Him.
So the speech is not Him.
Just like when you're on the phone and I'm speaking to you, those packets of data that are coming from you are not actually your
voice.
voice.
Yes, fair enough. So, if Allah is not present in the burning bush, okay, and Allah is the one who is creating speech, you don't believe that the Quran is eternal.
No,
You believe that the Quran is a created thing.
it's a created thing.
I've got to admit, your position is far more consistent than the Salafists. Logically,
you.
it is much more logical than the Salafist position. In terms of the Mutasilites, they would say,
Just to confirm, I'm not a Mutazilite. Right?
Sure.
I'm a Zaydi.
okay,
A Zaydi. Yeah.
right, fine. So let's look at this. In the Quran, we have statements about people that will do things, that have done things, in the past and in the present and in the future. Are those moments predestined?
Predestination is a big subject. Now, certain everything you could argue from an aspect from God. For God to be all-knowing, He must have knowledge of the future. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the predestination, how we calculate it from a Zaydi point, I might be wrong. I'm not a scholar from my religion. So, for example, my intention, might be to go and eat a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
Right? I've chosen that out of my own action. Right? I have free will. Although, for God to be all-knowing, this action had to be predestined. Although I made my choice. So it was always going to be my choice, but it was predestined.
Okay. So it was predestined. So when the Quran describes it, is that statement eternal?
No.
No. So it could have been different.
Because whatever happens within the confinements of the laws of physics can't be eternal.
I agree completely.
Therefore, anything that has been prophesied clearly won't be eternal, although it had to exist for forever. So anywhere
One
in the
second,
Quran
I've got
would
a
have to
question.
exist
I've got a
forever.
question. The attributes of Allah. Is Allah eternal?
That's one of His attributes, yeah.
Are His other attributes eternal?
Certain attributes He created.
Including His word.
His speech is created, yes.
So Allah changes.
No,
but He creates,
because the fundamental part of Allah that does not change doesn't change.
which is
So He's got certain attributes that always have to be there no matter what.
Yeah.
So the ever-living, the eternal, etc., etc. Those things which in a philosophical argument would have to be completely understood for me to prove to you that these things are vital for God to have to be God. Without them, He can't be
but He
God.
creates other attributes. Right.
So God, for example, can create an attribute, the all angry, for example. God can easily become the all angry and make that an attribute. However, God does not need all angry to exist, to be His attribute to exist and to be God.
If you're saying that God creates attributes and attaches them to Himself, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Then that means God changes.
No.
So how does God not change if He adds
Just like,
something new to
like
it?
as a human being, if he puts on new clothes, I'm sorry for the anthropomorphic example, but if this man changes into a suit, he is still your name. I don't know your name, but he's still that person.
But the clothing is not an attribute of humanity.
It's just an analogy that I'm using.
But what I'm saying is a poor analogy. An
necessarily.
attribute to humanity
Not
is something like
necessarily.
a human. Most humans, it is normative for humans to speak. And a changing of the attribute of humanity, adding a new attribute on, is something akin to suddenly allowing humans to fly of their own inner nature. But that's essentially what you're arguing.
The ability to speak is an attribute. The
Exactly.
words you're saying is a creation.
What I'm saying is that adding another attribute to the nature of humanity would be equivalent to saying something like human beings can now levitate.
I see where this can go. Okay. So, to be honest, to compare it to the Trinity, I understand now what the argument is. You're saying God can create a certain amount of attributes, therefore to present the Trinity to exist. And to be honest, that's a valid argument. It's not an irrational point. To believe in God, first of all, logically is irrational to us, because it's a matter of belief. It's not proven empirically, right? If God decided to create attributes to turn into the human form and manifest, according to our logic, it is possible.
Thank you.
I agree with you on
great,
that.
Great, because that's the point that I was making to you.
Yeah.
Is that you have argued that God can create attributes and apply them to Himself. So God can create a human nature and take it onto Himself.
He could
So
do.
great.
Yeah.
So now we've established the rationality of the incarnation. Perfect. Now you said, I didn't want to worship God who becomes a man because He becomes weak. But now you accept that God can create a human nature and take it onto Himself.
I just logically can't believe in a God that got manhandled by Romans. I really can't.
But now we've accepted. But now
that's the problem. That's
Irrelevant.
where we get into a problem.
Irrelevant.
I can't believe
Irrelevant.
God goes on a cross.
Irrelevant.
God goes on a cross and Romans
I'm not gonna worship
torture
someone
him on
that's
a
weaker
cross
than me.
and all of this stuff. I mean, I'd rather worship the Romans who killed God than worship
Bro,
God.
Shall I tell you why, bro? Shall I tell you why?
can't be
Let me
defeated
explain.
by your
I'd rather
Let
worship
me
Julius
explain.
Caesar.
Shall I tell you why, bro?
We're going to worship
Creation, it don't make sense.
One second. I'll tell you why. Because you're saying that the thing that is of highest value is power. That's what you're saying. I would rather
I didn't say
worship the
that.
Romans who kill God because they are more powerful than God. So that's saying a lot about your value system.
Your God got
That's
beat up by
saying a
Romans.
lot about your value
That's what I'm
system.
saying. So
Why
I'm
would you
saying-
worship
That's what
someone
you're
who got
saying.
defeated by his own creation?
So what I'm
It
saying,
don't make sense.
I'll wait until
If
he
I had
says.
to choose between worshipping Jesus or
So
worshipping
guys,
the
what
Romans,
I'm
I'd rather
saying,
worship them, 'cause
what
they
I'm
killed
saying, because
God.
those two are now talking amongst
like
themselves.
yeah.
So what I'm saying is if your value system says that power is the most important thing,
You're trying to divert
I
the
want to
point.
say
God cannot
I
be
want to
defeated.
say to you that your value system is flawed.
You're diverting now.
That your
Red herring.
value system needs correction. Because the moment you think about my next question, you're going to realize that the most important value
Off topic, man.
is
Off
love.
topic.
Because when you get to the end of your life, you won't say to yourself, I wish I had more power over other people. You will say, I wish I had more love in my life and to other people. That I spent more time with my mother, that I treat her better, that I loved my sister better. And so you admit in your heart that love is the highest value. And that's the problem with the brother.
Okay.
His value system is distorted by sin because he thinks power is the most important question. Let me ask you all a
You want to
question.
answer a question? Listen.
Which would you like to live your life governed by and have other people live the life governed by this principle?
My friend, relax.
Do you want them to live by power or by love? Put your hand up if you want it to be lived by love.
Quick question.
Put your hand up if you want it to be governed by power.
If Jesus was killed by Romans,
Because he was
if
ignoring
Jesus
me.
was killed by Romans, would you rather worship someone that killed God or
Think
worship
about the
God
logic that
died?
underpins
I'd
the
rather
question.
worship Julius Caesar.
He would
Julius
rather
Caesar's
worship
more deserving.
the killers.
Ah, the killer.
He would rather worship the killers. Because in his world, power is more important than love. And that's the problem with the Islamic God. Is that it elevates power greater than love. So to wrap up,
Bob.
what we were talking about, what we are talking about was the incarnation.
Okay.
Now the brother, to be fair to him, is not a Salafist.
Okay.
So he has a more logical understanding of theology than the Salafists that I've spoken to in the park. He's very close to the Mu'tazilites,
Yeah.
which incidentally were considered by heretics. They were considered as heretics by other mainstream Muslims. So just to put that in there. And he acts, the brother in particular believed that Allah can add attributes to himself. That's what this particular Muslim was
Yeah,
arguing.
he said that.
Which means that he has no objection rationally to the idea that God can take a human nature unto himself. And he accepted that because at least he is logically consistent. His objection to the incarnation is based upon the idea that it is not befitting that God should be killed by Romans.
Yeah, they say that.
And that he would worship the Romans because they killed God, rather than worship God himself because he became a man. What underpins that attitude is that power is the highest value system in that brother's matrix. Value is the most important value is power. However, if anyone simply reflects upon how they want the end of their life to be, I guarantee that any honest, humble, sincere human being will not say at the end of their life, I wish I had more power over other people. They will say, I wish I had had more love in my life. I guarantee every one of you on your deathbed will have wished for more love in your life. Because your nature corresponds to the truth of the Christian faith as opposed to the lies of Islam. And when you encounter beauty, it resonates within your soul. You know it to be true intrinsically. And so if at an intrinsic level you recognize that love is the greatest value, then you have to disagree with the brother's conclusion that the one who had power is more worthy of worship than the one who had love. That the one who gave his life because of love is more important than the one who took life because of power. And I leave that conclusion with you.
Thank you, Bob. Praise the Lord.
Perfect.